He once slept on a friend's couch, played unpaid DJ gigs just to be near the stage. But today, Kid Rock lives in his own White House, nestled in the Tennessee hills, over 27,000 square feet, with a gold-plated bathtub right in the middle of his living room and a private jet emblazoned with a middle finger parked at his personal airstrip. He's been at the center of controversies, once getting into a fight at the MTV Awards and making headlines with his outrageous statements. Yet he's also the one quietly donating tens of thousands of dollars to charities without any media coverage. He wasn't born to be famous, but he still became one of the richest stars in America, with a net worth of over $150 million. And perhaps the most surprising thing of all, he never wanted to live like a celebrity. This is the story of Kid Rock, a wild, rough-edged icon who is also sincere and free in a way no one else can replicate. Do you believe that a kid once mocked for breakdancing in his garage would one day lay the foundation for a music empire worth hundreds of millions of dollars? Kid Rock, real name Robert James Ritchie, didn't grow up in the slums of Detroit, nor was he born in the glitz of Hollywood. He was born in Romeo, a quiet little town in Michigan. His father owned a car dealership, enough for a comfortable life, but nothing remarkable. For many, that would be an idyllic childhood. But for Bob, the long-haired boy dancing alone in front of the mirror, it was the beginning of an invisible battle. He wasn't a straight A student, nor was he the school's football star. He was that kid dragging a crate of old vinyl records to garage parties, asking for a few minutes to play music. Sometimes he was turned down, sometimes laughed at, but he kept coming, with worn-out shoes, cheap speakers, and a dream no one believed in. There were nights when Bob snuck into Detroit parties, carrying a homemade speaker setup just to ask for a chance to play one track. No money, no fame, just hoping someone, anyone, would hear him rap. Once, he performed an entire set just to get the phone number of someone connected in the industry. But the call never came. There were nights he didn't go home, not because he couldn't, but because he didn't want to let go of his dream. He slept on friends' couches, sometimes curled up in the back of a truck. He knew he wasn't welcomed. No one expected anything from him. But in that silence, he could hear the voice of passion louder than ever. Unlike Eminem, whose rise was fueled by a raw, street-tough narrative from Detroit's working-class neighborhoods, Kid Rock was often dismissed as a white guy pretending to be a rapper. Not poor, not violent, not gang-affiliated. So what right did he have to stand in hip-hop? But he didn't need the slums to prove his passion. He used his talent. While Bon Jovi was selling out Madison Square Garden, Kid Rock was still hauling speakers into dingy Detroit bars, asking to perform a single track, only to be met with another no. He had no stylist, no manager, no crew, just himself. He taught himself everything: rapping, DJing, playing drums, guitar, even producing. No classes, no tuition, just sleepless nights, an old instrument, and a will that refused to break. I was never the first one they picked, but I'll be the last one standing, Kid Rock once said. The turning point came in the most unexpected way. A friend introduced him to rapper D-Nice, who then brought Kid Rock to Jive Records. In 1990, his debut album Grits Sandwiches for Breakfast was released. But instead of success, it was banned from airplay due to explicit lyrics. Jive dropped him. Every door seemed to slam shut. But Kid Rock didn't give up. He dove deeper into the underground scene, releasing self-made mixtapes, performing in backyards, surviving on faith and the support of people who'd never even seen his face. No stage lights, no applause, just effort and a heart that refused to stop. And from that darkness, a star began to rise. What makes an album once rejected by radio stations go on to sell 14 million copies and turn a misfit rapper into an American rock legend? The answer: determination, and a little bit of disregard for the rules. In 1998, after nearly a decade of grinding in the shadows, Kid Rock signed with Atlantic Records. It wasn't a lucrative deal from the start. It was a last-chance offer for an artist many had already written off as a failure. He bet everything on Devil Without a Cause, an album that fused hip-hop, rock, and country in a way no one had dared before. To record labels, it was a risky gamble. To him, it was all he had left. Then, the miracle happened. Tracks like Bawit Daba, Cowboy, and Only God Knows Why didn't just put him on the national music map. They shattered genre lines and created a new musical language. Gritty, wild, and impossible to predict. He hit the stage at Woodstock '99 like a ticking time bomb. While other artists worried about keeping up appearances, Kid Rock tossed his hat in the air and screamed into the mic like it was his last moment on Earth. The crowd exploded. He showed up at the MTV VMAs with Run DMC, two seemingly opposite worlds standing side by side, united by one man who believed music didn't need borders. But what made the journey unforgettable was how fresh the memories still were. Just a few years earlier, he was still begging to perform for free at parties, still mocked as a wannabe rapper, still living off just enough cash to buy guitar strings and a few cans of beer. Now, Kid Rock was selling millions of records, sitting for interviews on MTV, and forcing America to take a serious second look. He was no longer the kid knocking on bar doors. He was the name every stage wanted to book. But the climb wasn't easy. After his first taste of success, he was criticized for his rebellious image, explicit lyrics, and reckless attitude. Many critics called him a passing fad, a city cowboy playing the part of a star. Instead of fighting back with words, Kid Rock answered with music. In 2001, he released Cocky, marking his transition into country music, with the now iconic ballad Picture, a duet with Sheryl Crow. The song didn't just touch listeners. It expanded his fan base, reaching everyone from blue-collar workers to city dwellers, from hip-hop fans to traditional country lovers. He began earning millions each year, not just from album sales, but from sold-out tours. The same venues that once turned him away were now headlining his name. Brands came knocking. His face started appearing in Rolling Stone, Billboard, and even Forbes. Then, in 2007, Rock 'N' Roll Jesus was released. The album hit #1 on the Billboard 200, featuring All Summer Long, a mashup of Sweet Home Alabama and Werewolves of London that became the unofficial anthem of the American summer. By then, Kid Rock's net worth had soared into 8 figures. The houses, the luxury cars, the private jet. Those will come in the next chapter. But the most important thing wasn't the number. It was the journey. The journey of a man once rejected, ridiculed, and doubted by everyone, rising to become a top-tier star who built his empire from scratch. While stars like Justin Timberlake and Usher had teams of stylists, producers, and creative directors, Kid Rock climbed to the top with nothing but instinct and heart, no one to guide him. And if you think it ends there, you're wrong. Because in the next part, you'll step inside million-dollar mansions, ride shotgun in Kid Rock's Rolls-Royce, and take off in his private jet, bearing a giant middle finger logo. A lifestyle like no other, bold, unapologetic, and unmistakably Kid Rock. Can you imagine the kid who once DJ'd for free in a garage and crashed on sofas, now owning a net worth of over $150 million, living in his own 27,000-square-foot White House, flying across America in a private jet with a giant middle finger logo, and rolling up to shows in a Rolls-Royce, surrounded by hundreds of Harley-Davidsons? Kid Rock's life isn't just a symbol of success. It's a declaration that freedom can be built from concrete, V8 engines, and an unbreakable will. Kid Rock's White House, a party empire in the heart of Tennessee. Perched atop a private hill in Nashville, Kid Rock built not just a house, but a fortress of freedom and limitless partying. Spanning over 27,000 square feet, the mansion is designed as a living manifesto, extravagant, eccentric, and totally off the grid. The most surprising part? The house only has 2 bedrooms. The rest is dedicated to celebration. A horseshoe-shaped bar nearly 30 feet long, color-changing stage lighting synced to music, an outdoor jacuzzi that fits 20 people, and a gold-plated bathtub right in the middle of an open-concept living room. There's a poker room, a dance floor, and a cigar lounge with a stone fireplace imported from Europe. To some, it's over the top, but to Kid Rock, it's a reward for 20 years of rejection, ridicule, and resilience. This isn't a retreat. It's a monument to living without asking permission. I didn't buy a house to play gentleman. I built it to live like I want. Kid Rock, the Malibu mansion, ocean breeze, sunlight, and a loss that made sense. Point Dume, one of the wealthiest and most private enclaves on the West Coast, was once Kid Rock's home at the peak of his fame. In 2006, he bought a sleek 8,300-square-foot modern villa with 7 bedrooms, a private theater, and a recording studio with ocean views. The house featured floor-to-ceiling glass that welcomed the Pacific breeze, light oak interiors, imported Italian sofas, a high-end surround sound system, and a balcony big enough to host outdoor cocktail parties. Here, Kid Rock held mini-concerts for friends, sometimes even with Pamela Anderson, Sheryl Crow, or legendary musicians dropping by. But just 11 years later, he sold the home at a $2 million loss. The reason? It's beautiful, but Hollywood's too cramped for me. For Kid Rock, freedom is sometimes worth more than oceanfront views and luxury finishes. The Detroit house, flags, memories, and unfiltered American grit. No place captured Kid Rock's spirit like the 6,000-square-foot colonial-style mansion he once owned in Detroit. Built in the 1930s, it had classic bones, but was personalized with unmistakable Kid Rock touches. At the entrance hung a giant American flag in the main hall with a bold "Made in Detroit" logo on the wall and a display case filled with music memorabilia, from gold records to signed guitars. The basement was a hidden nightclub with a poker table, minibar, thunderous JBL speakers, and colorful lighting, a regular post-show hangout spot for him and his crew. This wasn't a showpiece. It was an anchor, a reminder of sleeping on couches, performing for free, and being dismissed as a fake rapper. He lived there from 2012 to 2019 before selling it for around $2 million. But the house still stands as a reminder. Real success never forgets where it started. 500 acres in Alabama, where wealth has no meaning. When he's not performing, driving exotic cars, or flying private, Kid Rock retreats to 500 acres of private wilderness in Alabama, a place so remote it barely shows up on maps. No gates, no signs, just wild woods, a fishing lake, a hunting lodge, a private airstrip, and the sound of wind rustling through trees. He built a runway here big enough for his Challenger 600 to land anytime, along with a big log cabin packed with comforts. but not a single photo has ever been made public. This isn't a place to flaunt. It's a place to vanish. No paparazzi, no lights, no social media, just guns, whiskey, and absolute quiet. I don't need the Maldives. I need a place I can shoot guns, blast music, and no one says a damn thing. Kid Rock. 1975. Cadillac Limousine, a nightclub on wheels. Customized by West Coast Customs, Kid Rock's 1975 Cadillac limo is less of a car and more of a rolling nightclub. The ceiling is painted with a soaring eagle, the ultimate symbol of American freedom. Inside, gold trim, blazing red fur carpets, and a walnut dash engraved with his name in real gold. The JBL sound system shakes the windows when he blasts Cowboy or Bawitdaba. Rumor has it, he once had friends walk straight onto the limo from backstage, turning it into a post-show party room on the highway. Estimated value, $120,000. But no one attaches more soul to metal than Kid Rock. 2004 Rolls-Royce Phantom, a rebel in a tuxedo. At first glance, his 2004 Rolls-Royce Phantom screams elegance. Glossy black paint, white leather interior, handcrafted wood trim. But look closer and you'll see. A Waffle House logo plate, his favorite diner chain. A controversial "Let's Go Brandon" decal on the rear window. Tires laser-etched with the phrase, "Don't tell me how to live." This isn't just a ride. It's a moving manifesto, a high-class slap in the face to Hollywood elitism. Value, approximately $250,000, but the real worth lies in the boldness. 2005 Ford GT, a car-turned-musical relic. His white and blue 2005 Ford GT wasn't just a car, it was part of the show. But how he let it go is what made history. Sold at auction for $638,000. Bundled with a signed Fender guitar and a whiskey box engraved "Born Free." Legend says he drove it around his estate one last time, blasting all summer long before handing it over. No one parts with a car like that, because for Kid Rock, it wasn't just a sale. It was passing on a piece of spirit. Chevrolet Silverado 3500 HD, American steel from forest to festival. His Silverado 3500 HD once starred at SEMA Auto Show, not for glam, but for its raw, rugged charm. Matte, gray-black paint, "Born Free" etched on the hood, wide fenders, and massive LED lights. Real southern wood accents hand-installed inside the cabin. Outdoor speakers capable of blasting country or southern rock across hunting fields. Integrated boat tow and gun rack in the back. A true mobile hunting camp. Custom value, approximately $100,000 to $120,000. And no one in Beverly Hills knows how to drive this thing right. Passions and hobbies, when life has no fence. Engraved rifles, hunting to feel primal again. A hand-engraved rifle reading "Born Free," displayed in a wooden case at the hunting lodge. Not for shooting, but as a tribute to self-determination no one can take away. $300,000 speaker system, just to listen to vinyl. In a secret studio under the Nashville mansion sits a $300,000 sound system. Not for producing, just to sit alone, spin Hank Williams, and hear the silence between the notes. 24-hour golf marathons. He rents out entire courses, blasts rock music between swings, and toasts bourbon, even for missed shots. For Kid Rock, it's not just golf. It's inventing a day no one else could dream of. Riding motorcycles into party halls, His birthday once featured roaring Harley engines inside a marble-floored mansion. Engine smoke mixing with colored lights, champagne resting on the fuel tank. Drinking beer with fans at his own bar. No stage more intimate than Kid Rock's big-ass honky-tonk. He once surprised the crowd by singing "Picture" unannounced, in a wrinkled shirt, old hat, and total silence as the bar soaked in the moment. How does an artist once banned from radio, caught in public brawls, and wrapped in countless controversies, still live freely and still earn the respect of millions of Americans? The answer isn't in a courtroom. It lies in how Kid Rock faces the public, head-on, honest, and unapologetically. From the very beginning, Kid Rock's path was anything but smooth. In 1990, after releasing his debut album Grits Sandwiches for Breakfast, he was banned from many radio stations due to explicit lyrics. Jive Records quickly dropped him. For most young artists, that would have been the end. But for Kid Rock, it was the beginning. He dove deep into the underground scene, built a fiercely loyal fan base, and began crafting his own legend. One of the most heated controversies came from his use of the Confederate flag during performances. To many Americans, it's a historical symbol, but also one deeply tied to painful memories of racial injustice. Throughout the 2000s, Kid Rock often displayed the flag on stage, sparking protests from civil rights groups. In 2011, when receiving an award from the NAACP in Detroit, Kid Rock took the stage and addressed it plainly. "I love the music of Lynyrd Skynyrd, not politics, and I never meant to offend anyone." After that, he quietly stopped using the flag. No scripted apologies, no media spin, just action. Then came 2007, a year full of scandal. At the MTV Video Music Awards, Kid Rock got into a full-on brawl with drummer Tommy Lee, Pamela Anderson's ex-husband. One punch, broadcast live to millions. Not long after, he and his friends got into a fight at a Waffle House after a minor argument. Cops showed up. Kid Rock was cuffed. For most, this would signal a downward spiral. But he didn't run. He paid the fines, did anger management, and went back on tour like nothing happened. No whining, no excuses. In 2019, another media storm hit. In a drunken rant at his own bar, Kid Rock took aim at Oprah Winfrey, one of America's most beloved cultural icons. Social media erupted. The backlash was intense. It didn't just damage his image, it impacted some of his business ventures. Made in Detroit, his airport bar came under fire. But once again, there was no formulaic apology. He quietly stepped back from the spotlight, shifted focus to Nashville, and opened Kid Rock's big-ass Honky Tonk, a multi-level bar with live music every night. The result? It became one of the hottest venues in town, drawing tourists and locals alike. Then, in 2023, Kid Rock lit up headlines again, this time for shooting at a case of Bud Light, protesting their ad campaign featuring a transgender spokesperson. The moment went viral. Left-leaning media tore him apart, but on the right, support surged. And strangely, his shows still sold out. His venues stayed packed. It was as if thousands of fans were shouting back at the media, "We love you because you're you." Kid Rock isn't immune to mistakes, but he never hides from them. He faces them, corrects course when needed, and keeps moving, with a rare kind of confidence, staying true to himself without asking for permission. Whether you agree with him or not, it's hard to look away from someone who lives like that. Someone imperfect, yet so brutally honest. You can't help but respect it. For older fans who've made mistakes, who've felt the sting of unfair judgment, Kid Rock's story is a reminder. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be real. and stand firm on the path you choose. But Kid Rock's story doesn't end with controversy. In the next chapter, you'll see how he transformed those challenges into fuel for music, for community, and for leaving a legacy that won't soon be forgotten in the heart of America. After all the spotlight and controversy, what makes Kid Rock remembered? Not as a superstar, but as a quiet hero of America's working class. What many don't know is that Kid Rock gives back without fanfare. No cameras, no hashtags. Throughout his career, he has contributed to numerous causes through the Kid Rock Foundation, a private fund that supports veterans, disaster victims, and children in need. But he rarely mentions it on stage. To him, helping doesn't need a declaration, just action. When a family in Michigan lost a loved one in a politically motivated act of violence, Kid Rock quietly sent $50,000 to cover funeral expenses. No press conference, no social media post, just a call from his lawyer, and grief shared through silent compassion. During the COVID-19 pandemic, while many artists lamented canceled shows, Kid Rock opened his wallet, made phone calls, and donated to small bars, local farmers, and frontline medical workers. He also stepped in to support the tour bus industry, an often overlooked but vital part of the music world, by handing out cash to drivers who had gone months without income. It's no coincidence that among Nashville's community of sound techs, road crew, and bus drivers, Kid Rock is a name loved before it's admired. His connection with fans is also something you can't fake. He doesn't hide behind velvet ropes. At the bar he owns, Kid Rock once sat down to have a beer with a grieving fan who had just lost his wife, just to listen. He once signed a guitar for a young boy with cancer, then quietly covered part of the child's treatment the very next day. At his shows, there's no script. He speaks from the gut. Sometimes messy, sometimes rough around the edges, but always in a way that reminds you, this is a real human being, with real feelings. Kid Rock's musical legacy doesn't live on the charts. He's one of the rare artists who dared to blur the lines between rock, country, and hip-hop, paving the way for genre-bending acts like Brantley Gilbert, Jason Aldean, and Jelly Roll. He proved that music doesn't need boundaries, just emotion. Hits like Picture, All Summer Long, Cowboy, and Only God Knows Why still echo through bars, stadiums, and radios decades after they were released. No need for updates, no reworkings, because they were written from a real place, and truth never goes out of style. Kid Rock never set out to become a national icon, but by staying true to himself, helping others quietly, and never forgetting where he came from, he became a part of America's identity. Flawed, fierce, but deeply sincere. To older fans, those who've weathered enough storms to know life doesn't need to be perfect, Kid Rock's story is a reminder. You can mess up, but you can also get back up, live with kindness, and leave something better behind. And maybe the most memorable thing about Kid Rock isn't in million-dollar mansions or flashy cars. It's in the eyes of those he's helped, who don't shower him with gratitude. They just smile. Because some people don't need a thank you to keep doing the right thing.